Phil-Berg, your view on that question.
Well, first off, I'm not working secretly for Hillary Clinton. I did support her during the election, but very minor. I mean, I think I gave her $200 or $300, nowhere near the limit that you could give of in the thousands of dollars or $35,000, whatever the number is. I didn't even have a lawn sign on my house for her. I did this because I'm a lifelong Democrat, and people say, how can you attack the Democratic Party? I did this because there's nothing more important than our U.S. Constitution. And that's what I'm fighting for. And Obama has walked all over the Constitution. If you think about it, Arnold Schwarzenegger, people have talked to for 10, 15 years about running for president. And what's he say? He says, I was born in Austria, amend the Constitution. Obama hasn't said anything. And for him to come out laughing and joking today on this issue, it's ridiculous. It's not a joking issue. But more significant is his status. And again, it's from his book. It's his status of being adopted in Indonesia. And I'm going to pursue my efforts here. I could use money if people want to make a contribution. We've been the only one, I believe, in the last 2.5 years focused on the adoption issue. Some people are saying, well, I've gotten calls today. They say, well, it shows his father's British, therefore he can't be natural born. I don't buy that argument. I buy the argument that you deal with the facts at the time.
Doesn't your mother just have to be natural born? And then, and of course, the laws have since changed, but at that time in the 60s, you had to be born in the country, though, even if one of your parents was an American, or they had to be a certain age. What were the specifics?
The specifics were husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, even today, traveling around anywhere around the world. If both are U.S. citizens, the child born, when it comes back to immigration, that child is considered natural born. The problem you get into is if only one parent is a U.S. citizen. And we raised that point that if she was born in Kenya, and I still have the recording from her step-grandmother, who said she was in the hospital when he was born there, August 4th, 1961. If only one parent is a U.S. citizen, then you take the U.S. citizen, and that person had to live in this country for 10 straight years, and 5 of those years had to be after the age of 14. 14 and 5 was 19. She was only 18. So if he was born in Kenya, which I still believe he was, then the mother could not convey natural-born status. And some people say, Phil or Mr. Berg, you're playing on technicality. I said, I'm not playing on technicality. Congress established that rule. I think the rule today is if you're 15 plus 2 years. But Congress establishes that for natural-born status. So there's some real questions here. I guess the first thing we have to look at is the hospital, the doctor, see if the doctor was on staff, see what they did. But it was interesting, and Maya Satora, his half-sister last week, when she was interviewed, Pierce Morgan blew it because he said he didn't answer the question, how come in 2 different interviews you said your brother was born in 2 different locations? So we have to take a look at this document. Again, I don't care what this document really is. If ultimately it's valid, he loses his status when he's adopted in Indonesia.
But you've got a big research network out there. Since we've been on the air together the last 40 minutes, you've pointed out that it says race of father African. At the time, they would say they would use other terms. I believe you're correct there, and we've also blown it up. There's white around all the words, both the signed written text and the typewriter printing. This is very bizarre, and this is a riddle wrapped in an enigma. I want to bring Webster Tarpley in, who you know well, doctorate of history, researcher, economist, who's also been looking at this very closely, Genesis host, who every Saturday has you do an update. Webster, what's your preliminary view on what's happening here?
Well, first of all, this shows that agitation can lead to results, and people who think that the federal government is beyond their reach should now think again. Obama did not want to reveal this, and now he's been forced to reveal whatever he has revealed. I think the first step is, as Phil has been suggesting, we need to see a detailed analysis of this, forgeries. Is it fabricated? Is it real? What's with the name of the doctor? What if these people are still alive? Can they provide some enlightenment? As Phil also points out, the really big question is the naturalization of Barack Hussein Obama, if that really is his name, in Indonesia as Barry Sotoro, the son of Lolo Sotero, who was the guy that his mother married. and therefore he is, by all accounts, became at that point a naturalized citizen of Indonesia. I would also extend a broader standard. If you want to be president, it means that you want to get your hand on the thermonuclear button. That gives you life or death power over virtually everybody in the United States and many people in the world. At that point, there is no private sphere. We want to see everything. We want to see his records from the prep school, Punahou, in Hawaii. We want to see the Occidental College records. We want to see the Columbia University records. We have this guy, Wayne Root, who says that he was in that year at Columbia. He's asked all the alumni. Nobody ever heard of Obama in that graduating class. We want to see the Harvard story. We want to see his tax returns. We want to see his records at this Business International Corporation, which is a notorious CIA front as long as it existed. We want to see his State Department file regarding the visas and trips that he took. For example, did he go to Pakistan early on with a couple of schoolmates? And
by the way, Webster, you're going to be in studio for an hour and a half Friday with us here in town, breaking this down as we work on a documentary film together. But my big issue here is, folks, they've been covering up his whole record like never before with anybody else in American politics. They wouldn't release this. They said that the receipt of a certificate was the certificate, played dumb about it. Now they've released a supposed long form. Does anybody in their right mind think that if he was really born in Kenya, that they wouldn't produce a fake birth certificate now because 62% of the American people don't believe he was born here in the USA Today poll that came out yesterday? Does anyone think, when the government's been caught forging documents, making fake newscasts, that they are not capable of this? Webster Tarpley, then we'll get Phil-Berg's take on that.
They've been lying the whole time, and the interesting thing is now you see what a real birth certificate might look like if this is authentic. That's a big if. You see that it's typewritten, it has signatures on there in pen and ink. It's got a whole series of about 20 to 25 categories of information.
Where are the feet? Where are the feet?
That's what we were demanding the whole time. Yes, there's that too. Some states have it. I guess some states don't. The authenticity of that document now has to be established by experts in...
By the way, notice it's not a scan, so experts could do that properly. It's a photo. You can see it curving. It's a photo. That's even more suspicious.
All right. All of those things have to come out in the wash. But again, the further dimension, what's with Indonesia? And again, the standard has to be, you want your finger on the thermonuclear button, great. We get to know everything. And this applies to everybody. It applies to Obama, anybody running for president, anybody and everybody running for president.
Well, we know to join the FBI, you've got to give them the long-form birth certificate. Let's get final comments from Phil-Berg, Webster Tarpley, then your phone calls coming up. And they've certainly been covering it up. $2 million spent blocking Phil-Berg. All I know is the media needs to answer for this. All of them that said that he'd released his long form when it was this receipt computer printout itself that folks, experts said was as fake as a $3 bill. And now this. Or is there a bigger psyop that they put out more fake stuff to keep the controversy going? Not that it's not a controversy and not important, but compared to dollar plunging and everything else, it's kind of like going after Clinton for sex instead of missile secrets. Final comment on that, Webster Griffin Tarpley. Then I want to get Phil-Berg's take.
I think the overriding issue is the blackmail issue, and the blackmail issue subsumes the things that you're mentioning. You have to imagine if Obama is really not constitutionally qualified, if he was naturalized into Indonesia, or if this birth certificate is a fake, he is blackmailable. Why did he reverse his field on bombing Libya? He told Senator Lugar 48 hours before the bombing, there will be no military action against Libya. Then he turns around and does it. Does British intelligence, for example, have proof that he was born in Kenya? All of these questions. That's why we have to know everything. Because if the president is blackmailable, he can't be president, and that impacts every issue under the sun. And I think this is a way for people, leftists and others, centrists, independents, to understand if the president can be blackmailed, that is a constitutional crisis. And we're still in a major constitutional crisis over this question of Obama's qualifications.
But going back, the reason you mentioned Kenya and British Intel, that was a British holding, a colonial state still at the time that he was born. Any questions or comments for Phil-Berg, Webster?
Well, just congratulations. I mean, Phil, after all, was the first person to take this to the U.S. Supreme Court. We were there. I was happy to be an eyewitness, a supporter on August 21st, 2008, when Phil went to the Supreme Court here in Washington. It was before the Democratic National Convention, raising these issues, and they always did it. He was always rejected on standing, and I would urge anybody in Congress who has a committee could issue a subpoena simply demanding to see more, the State Department file and some of these other things.
Yeah, because if they faked this, then they would they were smart, fake it in the files themselves. We need to have those files seized by Congress to really root out what's happening. Phil-Berg has raced all over the country for 2.5 years trying to get to the bottom of this. And I think, Phil, you said it best. Why would they spend $2 million, closing comments, why would they spend money blocking you instead of just releasing this thing?
That's right. I mean, why spend the money? Why fight every lawsuit? Just released this 2.5 years ago when I first started, because there's more behind this. Like I stated, even if he was born in Hawaii, he loses his status when he's adopted in Indonesia. And that's the key we have to look at. We have to look carefully at this birth certificate. I don't think anyone had a race of African back in 1961. There's just so many issues here, and Obama comes out laughing today. It's a joke. It's not a joke. You know, the document they might have changed the law in Hawaii, but that long form, the short form certification of live birth would not have gotten your child registered for Little League and would not have gotten you a passport. I think they recently changed that. So there's a lot more that we have to... All
right, ObamaCrimes.com, Tarpley.net, Infowars.com. Phil, I know you're getting on a plane soon to go out to California with one of your latest lawsuits dealing with this. We'll talk to you later this afternoon, figure out a time for you to come on by yourself later in the week. Tarpley in studio coming up on Friday. Thank you both, gentlemen. We'll be right back with